Hello there, adventurers, and welcome to Wall ADM. You know, as a dungeon master, when I begin new campaigns with first level characters, usually for evil humanoid races, I go to the old standbys. I put in goblins and orcs and kobolds and things of that nature. Well, with the recent release of the Volo's Guide to Monsters, I've actually come across another creature that I believe that we could use in our Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And it actually has its roots in the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Fiend Folio. And then it was kind of dormant for a while. This monster had not been in very many publications since then, but it was recently reintroduced to the 5th edition world in the Volo's Guide for Monsters. So today we're going to take a look at a humanoid race that you can put into your gaming sessions, maybe a quest, or maybe your overall campaign. So today we're going to look at the Xvarts. Okay, so let's take a look at Xvarts, and we're going to start with the Fiend Folio version because it kind of establishes what they are. They're a lot more simple in AD&D, and then Volo's Guide to Monsters really enhanced them a lot. So the Fiend Folio version, the Xvarts are about 3 foot tall humanoids. They have bright blue skin, orange eyes. Most of them are balding and don't have much hair left, a little bit on the sides maybe. What they do have left is black hair. Now, they don't usually wear armor. They're kind of little poor folk humanoids. They wear a bunch of raggedy clothing and stuff like that. But they do arm themselves with a short sword. Now, as far as number appearing with Xvarts, it's very rare that a party will come up on just a couple of them because they're actually really cowardly. And in fact, they usually will not approach a human unless they greatly outnumber them. So maybe 10 to 1 odds or even better than that. Otherwise, they kind of just steer clear. Now, as far as goblins and kobolds, they're not as friendly with them. So those, if a Xvart comes across goblins or kobolds, they may provoke or engage in battles. Now, like most humanoids, once the numbers get greater, or you go into the lair, or a tribe of Xvarts, of course you're going to have one that's maybe a little bit stronger. Their chieftain, warrior, something like that, or maybe even a spellcaster. So those things are always there to consider as well. And it says in the Fiend Folio that for every 20 Xvarts, there will be a stronger one, a little bit buffer short dude, that will be carrying a net. Now, a couple final statistics about Xvarts from the Fiend Folio is they do like to take prisoners for either torturing them or for ransom or both. And a lot of times when they go out and do these type of things, they're assisted or are assisting were-rats. So they, even as far back as the Fiend Folio, Xvarts had a connection to were-rats. And then finally, as far as their layers are concerned, Xvarts are usually in the deep of a heart, in a deep part of a forest, or in underground caverns. So that's basically about it for the Xvart. Very basic humanoid, blue skin, orange eyes, hardly no armor. They just wear rags, short swords, a little bit cowardly, and occasionally they'll go out and try to kidnap somebody. But again, they're going to do most of their damage in greater numbers. So now let's take a look at Xvarts according to Volo's Guide to Monsters, because it kind of takes what was in the Fiend Folio as a base and kind of really explodes it out. So let's take a look. Now, right away in Volo's Guide to Monsters, they start off by introducing the Xvarts as cruel but cowardly humanoids. And they're actually spawned by the demigod Xvart. And in fact, the Volo's Guide to Monsters goes on to say that the god Xvart actually looks like a Xvart with the blue skin and the orange eyes. And Xvarts have no means of reproduction. They're actually spawned by this demigod in his image. Now, the reason that he does this is because, and I won't go into a lot of the lore. If you want to know more about the deity Xvart, just let me know in the comments, and we'll go more in detail in a separate video. But pretty much in a nutshell, Xvart stole, it was called the Infinity Spindle, and he pissed off this Dark Prince by taking this. And this was before Xvart became a god, and this Infinity Spindle helped him become a demigod. Now, since then, this Dark Prince, Grazit, I believe, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but maybe Grazit, he's been on the lookout for him, and Xvart is always hiding on the material plane. And so when he's on the material plane, he spawns all these Xvarts in his image, and when Grazit tries to find Xvart by using any kind of magic or spells or rituals, that magic actually points him to the nearest Xvart. So it makes Xvart kind of invisible to this this Dark Prince demigod that is looking for him and stuff. So that's why the Xvarts exist, according to Volo's Guides to Monsters, is to not only serve Xvart, but also to throw off anybody that's headhunting him, to throw them off the trail. So Xvarts themselves are really a pathetic humanoid race. They don't have really any good qualities about them. They're greedy, they're conniving, they're obsessed with getting acquiring treasures, especially stuff that's really bizarre or obscure, and they'll go about by trying to steal this stuff, or things of that nature. And because of their physical appearance and abilities and things of that nature, they pretty much just hate everybody else because they think everybody else is a lot better than them. So they kind of go with this attitude that they just despise everyone, and like I said, especially humans and any creatures that they perceive as being better than they are. But again, since they're cowards, they're not going to confront people or humans or dwarves or elves, and they're going to kind of keep their distance unless they greatly outnumber them. Now, one of the main things about Xvarts is they will try to please Xvart however possible. So they'll gather this treasure, they'll seek out magical items and stuff like that to present to them. If they're having troubles or whatever, like in their tribe or whatnot, and things aren't going well for them, they'll assume that their deity is angry, and so they'll maybe go out into the town and try to find an animal or another being to sacrifice to their deity, and things like that. So they do that, and they sacrifice whatever they have, whoever they have captured or whatever they have captured. And most of the time, Xvart's too afraid to appear before them, but every once in a while he will. And he'll appear, say, okay, thank you, and then he takes all the treasure that they have, and then he's gone again. So, but it makes the Xvarts happy. So, okay. But anyway, now a tribe of Xvarts may have a speaker because they themselves, I believe, in the Volo's Guide to Monsters, they speak Abyssal. But usually, if there's a lot of Xvarts, that there's usually one that's called a speaker, and they will usually speak Common or maybe another language, have an intelligence of about a 13. So that helps. Now, one of the cool things that Volo's Guide to Monsters really does is it builds on the Xvarts as being Vermin Masters. They're kind of the Ace Ventura of vermin. They could live with bats and rats and normal size ones and the giant size ones, the dire rats, stuff like that. They domesticate them for battle, for pets. They'll eat them, so all things like that. And they also make alliances with were-rats, just like they did in the Fiend Folio. But as Volo's Guide goes on to say, in those relationships, it's usually the were-rats that have the upper hand, and the more dominant species, and whatever arrangements they make with these Xvarts. Now, before we move on, just a few upgraded stats according to Volo's Guide for Monsters. The Xvart has a armor class of 13 and may even be wearing leather armor. They usually have, on the average, about 7 hit points or 2d6. One of their main skills is stealth, which they have a +4. They also have passive perception and dark vision. They speak the abyssal language, and they're also able to take a disengage action as a bonus action. And they are fully capable of communicating with ordinary bats and rats, as well as giant bats and rats, or dire rats, or things of that nature. As far as their weapons go, they usually carry a short sword with a +4 to hit, and they can cause about 5 points of damage, or 1d6 +2 of piercing damage. Okay, so that's the Xvart. Now, how can you use this in your D&D campaign, quest, or gaming session? Well, I think what's really cool about Xvarts is if you start a new gaming session or a new campaign with experienced players and starting out on level 1, there's a good chance a lot of them have never heard of a Xvart before. So instead of the old run-of-the-mill, you meet up some goblins, orcs, kobolds kind of a thing, maybe they live in a town or whatever, and out deep in the forest there's a legend of these 3-foot blue guys or whatever. And you can introduce them to Xvarts. So it would be really cool for experienced players, just because it's more of a rare monster from the old days of Fiend Folio, and just recently had the reprint in Volo's Guide. Now, some possible quests and gaming options. You could have the first level characters. They might live in a town, and the main issue in their very first adventure is the increase of rats. I mean, there have always been rats that have roamed the sewers and stuff, but now the rats are starting to flood the streets. They're starting to go into businesses, and a major vermin pest problem. And then at night you've got bats flying around and things of that nature. And as the players start talking to more townsfolk and things like that, maybe some businesses are noticing slits in the wall about 3 feet high or whatever, and occasionally they see a pair of orange eyes glowing at them. So, and what's actually happening is the Xvarts are kind of scoping out the town. Maybe they've got a couple hundred of them out in the forest, and are preparing to raid some treasure or kidnap a victim to sacrifice a Xvart or whatnot. And so they're developing all these secret passages inside this town and kind of just scoping out everything. Now, as a dungeon master, how would I play the Xvarts in my campaign? I would probably make them just these cunning but cowardly little guys that kind of scurry away like a cockroach or a rat, I guess you would say, at the sight of humans and stuff, but always conniving and have some kind of a plan. I would actually also maybe even consider them playing somewhat of a humor role, maybe a little slapstick comedy and stuff. Make them really clumsy. Maybe they say dumb things. Maybe they do dumb things. Maybe you've got 3 Xvarts in particular that are really fell off the rocker, and maybe they're not as cowardly as the rest. We could have the 3 of them. We got Larry, Curly, and Mo. And maybe one of the Xvarts has a full head of hair, and he is the everybody in the tribe loves him. He's like the fashionable Xvart, full head of hair, when all the other Xvarts are receding hairline and stuff like that. And maybe Larry, Curly, and Mo are around some comedy, things like that. And heck, even down the line somewhere, maybe they find out that the one that was wearing has the full head of hair was wearing a wig, and they call him out on it. So yeah, I'm really going out on a tangent, but just my kind of idea for maybe just like a little bit of humor in a game further down the line. like I said, maybe these three kind of work out deals with players or whatever else. They're not really into the tribe. They're non-conformist, kind of, I don't know, things of that nature, using our imagination. But I could see, in a nutshell, as a DM, using them as cowardly, conniving guys, but also use them for maybe a little bit of slapstick humor and some funny moments. So in addition to the player character's town being overflowed with rats and Xvarts running around in secret passages, another quest idea that came to me, it was I actually did my very first quest video on this channel, where it was a little girl had lost her cat, and going back to that, maybe the mayor or the baron of the town calls upon the players to investigate what happened to this little girl's cat, and they find out that a few Xvarts have snuck into town and stolen this cat with purpose of sacrificing it to their deity Xvart. So, which is kind of funny if you think about it. Xvart is the god of rats, and cats kind of chase mice, but in this instance, the god of the rats has captured a cat, or has had the Xvarts capture the cat for him, for them to pay tribute in by putting the cat on the altar. So the player characters will need to find the Xvarts, infiltrate their tribe, and retrieve the cat or whatever animal or person that you decide needs to be captured, and bring them back unharmed. So that's pretty much all that I have for you. Again, we kind of just went over the Volo's Guide to Monsters, and I kind of really recommend, if you have that book, to check the Xvarts out, or if you have the PDF, to give it a read and maybe include them in your games or your campaigns. In fact, my most recent puzzle is the Temple of Xvart. It is puzzle number 29, and it's on this channel, and it would actually be perfect for your first gaming session with the little blue dudes. So throw some Xvarts in there, draw out the Temple of Xvart, and I even have a puzzle for you to go with it. So that's our Monster Spotlight video on Xvarts, and I hope you enjoyed it. I haven't done a Monster Spotlight video in some time. I do have two other videos, though, I recommend checking out. We did, the very first one was on the Oblivax Memory Moss, and the second one was on Doppelgangers. And of course, don't forget to rewatch the video, episode 1 of my quests, where the girl lost her cat. And of course, you've got that brand new puzzle that ties in with this Monster Spotlight, the puzzle number 29, the Temple of Xvart. So let me know if the Xvarts are something you might use in your game, and what you think of them. And if there's a creature that you would like to see spotlighted, leave it down there below and I'll see what I can do. Or if you just want to see more Monster Spotlight videos, let me know in the comments. I'd be glad to investigate and maybe pull some more tricks out of some old books like the Fiend Folio. Again, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And on to the next.